I just do you
Go ahead.
do you see me?
Hold on, I'm on this. I'm gonna try to get out of WhatsApp, and it might cut me off again like it was doing last night. But,
Ik ben live trouwens.
hello. You know what? Let me. I'm gonna hang up. Let me answer on my cell phone.
Hi people, I'm just testing. I'm testing. Can anyone tell me if they can hear me? Can you put in the comments if you can hear me? Otherwise, I have a little problem. Can you hear me, Jim? Yay, I'm very happy. It's a little bit early. I'm supposed to start in half an hour, but how about I start in 10 minutes? And I really hope you're all going to be there because I'm really, really excited and I'm really happy that there's actually people watching me, which was a little bit scary. Okay, I asked my manager what to do. People already checked in, which is my own fault because I went live like half an hour before the actual time. No, I'm really happy. I really love to do this. Jim, shall we start or shall we wait? I asked my manager. Shall I start? I mean, we're all here. You can put in the comments if you want me to wait to the initial time or if I just start to talk about limerents, because that's why you're all here for. Yeah, I'm going to start. Okay. If you have any questions, please put them in caps. I will answer them today, or at least try to answer them. And meanwhile, I'll just talk a little bit about limerents. I have some notes with me. I already had one question from somebody, and she asked, how do you manage limerents if you are in a workplace? How do you deal with that when it's a colleague? I will answer that question, absolutely. If you have questions, please put them in caps, and I will answer them. Okay. This is my first live chat, obviously. Let's see how it goes. And I'm just going to start. Being limerent for a narcissist. Good question. Good question. I'm just going to talk a little bit about limerents. And I made my own definition today. I'm doing an interview for a newspaper next week. And they asked me what is limerence, and of course, if you put it really short, it is an obsessive infatuation with another person. Now, I came up with my own definition, which is a little bit longer. It's an altered addictive state, and I think an altered state in the sentence is really important. I'm going to explain that. Altered addicted states of being where you're fixated on another person, wanting reciprocity, with obsessive, involuntary, intrusive thoughts with big effect on your mood. That's my definition of limerence. And why I call it an altered state is because we are different before the limerent episodes begins. We are different during the limerent episode, and we come back to our old selves after the limerence ends. And fortunately, hooray, limerence is temporary. That is, if you don't continue to feed it. If you stop feeding the limerence is always temporary. So if the limerence ends, you get back to who you were because your nerve system calms down, your symptoms go away. And that's unfortunately also the reason why so many people get misdiagnosed in a limerent episode, because we are diagnosed based on the symptoms that we show during the limerent episode, and it's not accurate because it's temporary. Okay. Do I have some questions? What about being limerent for a narcissist? Good question. Can you be limerent with your really close friend? Yes, of course, Baba. You can be limerent to your really close friend. Now, also, you can be limerent for a narcissist. Things have in common is not so limerent for a narcissist. Common is one thing, and you probably know what are obstacles. Obstacles create unpredictability. Now, being with a narcissist or somebody with a cluster B borderline personality disorder, it's not like we always get limerent for them per se on purpose, but they have one thing in common: they're unpredictable. And the unpredictableness plays with our hormones. So that is why so many people are drawn to narcissists, because of the unpredictableness in their reward, in their behavior, and in their punishment. And one day they're really harsh on you, which we can consider a punishment, and the next day they can be super charming and showering you with compliments, which makes it very unpredictable. Now, if you're limerent for your best friend, of course, there's an obstacle, because this is your best friend. You're not in a happy, healthy, secure, bonded, romantic relationship, because this is platonic. So you cannot really bond in a way that you want to, which makes your needs not being met, which can make you limerent. Please put the questions in cap so I can answer them. I can hear. Okay, I'm happy. So the pattern, when do we become limerent, is first all limerence starts really innocent. First we noticed someone, and we call that the glimmer. It's like this instant, maybe you've seen this person before, maybe a few times, but at one point you're like, oh wow, there's something special about this person. It's this instant thing that just pops up in your head, and we call that the glimmer, the moment that you notice this person. And then if we, like I always state, if we cannot, we of course first we get in contact, we get infatuated, we really like this person. There's nothing out of the ordinary going on here. This is the same for people who fall in love and people who are going to develop a limerent episode later on. Because if we notice obstacles, or this is how do you say that this you cannot form a happy, healthy, secure relationship with this person. It's unavailable. Your needs cannot be met. Then you can become limerent. So that is how the pattern develops. And once we are addicted, it's not so easy to just say, okay, bye. This is not healthy for me. I'm going to walk away. And of course, I always predict that. I always teach you guys to please walk away if your needs are not being met in any kind of relating or relationship. Don't try to fix something or to have hope for months and months and years. If something doesn't make you happy, learn to say goodbye and learn that you will survive. Okay. Are there any questions? I'm asking my assistant here on the side with me.
No.
Okay, no questions. I find it really hard to be in no contact when my limerent coverted narcissist is hovering. Of course, no contact is very, very difficult because we have all kind of biases before and during the no contact. We have the loss aversion. We think that if we invest subconsciously, of course, if we invest a little bit more, we will get the end. We will get the prize. We will get the love and the connection that we crave so much as human beings, of course. Then we have the nerve system, and I always my son is my assistant. Sorry. Yeah, okay. No, I'm talking and then I'm reading, and I have to get used to this a little bit. Where was I? Where was I? We have the nerve system, and I always talk about the nerve system. We are literally addicted to this person. So walking away and realistic, because it can, and I like I always state, I hope sooner than later you decide to go no contact and cut this person off. Even though it's a nice person, they can be the sweetest person in the world, this person is not good for you. And I suggest people to use that as a mantra. When you're in this loop, when you're in this maze, trying to puzzle if either maybe you can go around it and maybe there's a way to be in contact, but not really. You use this mantra. You only need one sentence, basically, when you're going no contact. This person is just not good for me. That's the only sentence that you need. This person, no matter who it is, no matter how kind they are, they might be Mother Teresa, this person is not good for me. Try to use that as a sentence to keep yourself on track. Okay, I am going to read some of the comments because otherwise I just continue to talk. Are there any questions? I have a question about being limerent for somebody in a workplace. Okay, that first of all, I'm super sorry for you if this happens, because you cannot really avoid. You sometimes you can change your job, which is the easiest way to go no contact, but sometimes you just can't. What you do is you have to be determined. In any case, even if you are in a limerent episode, not for a coworker, you have to be determined to not want this anymore, to not want to suffer anymore. And then you stop feeding the limerence. We should all take this advice, also the people who are not limerent for a coworker. But you should stop feeding the limerence. That means no flirting, no extra emails, no walking around their desk, no buying new shoes, no buying the sharp suit and buying the see-through blouse and be cocky and send extra emails to get their attention. You have to be strict with yourself. Take on a very professional and maybe a little bit distance approach to them, very professional, just friendly, nothing more approach to them. And even if you have to come across as a little bit of cold or a little bit of maybe even unkind, that's fine. You are allowed to protect yourself in this. So that's what you do. You decide that you don't want this anymore, and you take a step back. Avoid them as much as possible, but also take a very maybe distant or a little bit of not a little bit, very professional approach towards them. And then make a list. We should all do that, by the way. Make a list with what do I do to feed the limerence, and what do I do to stop limerence. You can see limerence as these meat-eating plants, and I made a video about that also. What do you do to feed it? If you feed it, it grows. If you buy new shoes to impress your LO, you're feeding limerence. It grows a little bit. The plant grows a little bit. If you wear your old sneakers, which you think are really unattractive, you starve the limerence a little bit. So you can catch yourself, also in the workplace, but also outside the workplace, to see if you feed or you starve the limerence. Again, please put the questions in caps, otherwise I will miss them. How long does limerence last in an affair? That of course it depends on the circumstances. Dorothy Tanev, the founder of Limerence, she approached limerence as the early romantic infatuation stage, and that lasts around 3 years. But I have seen, well, max up to 3 years, but I've seen people who were not together with this person. They could not form a healthy, secure relationship with this person, but they kept on feeding the limerence in different ways, and then you can stay limerent for decades. If you form a couple, if your relating started with limerence, you have an affair, but you form a relationship, then most of the time you follow the stages, which is infatuation, crystallization, and deterioration. And that approximately takes 3 years. Now, of course, there are exceptions. I know people whose relationship started within an affair, they had obstacles, and 10 years later, they are still together. But they are exceptions. In most cases, relationships that start as an affair don't last. I think 75% fails, only 25% develops in a marriage, and those marriages also have 75% of ending up in a divorce. So you have the statistics are against you when you start your relationship as an affair. Of course, I cannot predict how long, depending also on your situation. Sometimes I can make a prediction when somebody explains me how the other person is behaving in the affair. But again, most affairs don't last, and within a few years they come to an end. Where are my crappy shoes? Wear your most unattractive shoes, Jim, so you can you can starve the limerence in that way. What can you say about limerence for celebrities, people who are famous and you will never meet? Yes, we call that the parasocial relationships, where we put somebody on a pedestal. And of course, every teenager has that. That's a normal part of forming your identity, forming your development. But if we do that and it takes up a tremendous amount of energy and headspace, and it makes us miserable in some cases, then we want to stop that. I made a video on that, and what you do is basically like any other limerent episode. If you want to get out, you need to starve the limerence. That means no more looking them up online, no more feeding the limerence, not reaching out, not looking at pictures. Anything that gives you the little bit of dopamine fix, looking at them, keeps you in this addiction. So having a parasocial relationship, meaning you are infatuated or obsessed with a celebrity, you have to starve that and then go through the grief process. Like everybody who goes no contact, you go through the grief, and you have a right to grieve even if you have never met this person. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. Your nervous system only knows that this person is important to you. And I always say this: you have a right to grief, and we call that disenfranchised grief, when you don't feel entitled because you were not in a official relationship with this person. Okay. What advice would you give a spouse of a limerent husband? He's in love with a coworker. I'm so sorry that this happened to you. I give two different advices. If you're the spouse of somebody who's having an affair, some people who are in a limerent episode and they're married, they do not want to be in this limerent episode. They clearly state, I am limerent for this person, I am obsessed, but I do want to stay in the marriage. I choose my marriage, even though I find that really difficult. As a spouse, you can support your husband or your wife as much as possible. And that is super, super difficult to see your spouse be infatuated with somebody else. But at least your husband or wife are not distancing themselves. If they say, I want to be with this other person and I'm collecting my stuff and I'm filing for divorce and I'm looking for houses, if they're creating this space, you cannot really do anything but to let them go. And of course you can make very clear that this is not your idea, that you want to fight for this marriage. Unfortunately, the more you try to stop the limerence, the bigger the limerence grows, because limerence grows on obstacles. And then we have this Romeo and Juliet effect, which you make stronger if you stand in the way from your spouse and their limerent object. You're an obstacle. Again, of course, you have every right to say, okay, this is not my choice. I want to be married to you. If you change your mind anytime soon, maybe I'm here, maybe I'm not. But please know that this is not my choice. And I'm so sorry if this happens to you, because that's really, really difficult. So long story short, and I made several videos and I cannot really go into this now because I'll be talking for an hour. But if your husband or wife is limerent for somebody else, if they want to stay, you deal with it. You do this together. You support them like an addict. And of course you can have boundaries and rules. Of course, that's healthy, but you support them. If they are distancing themselves, they don't care for you anymore, they're cold. People in limerence are extremely selfish, by the way. Then you have not really a choice but to let them go and tell them, okay, I'm here if you change your mind. It's easier said than done. I absolutely know that. Okay. Tips to get over being jealous of the LO, wondering who they're with, what she's doing, on and on and on. Yeah. Of course you're jealous when you're in a limerent episode, and you can make yourself completely crazy. It's an easy, well, it's not an easy advice, but of course it's an easy advice, but also a true advice. Get out of the limerent episode. That means going no contact. If you go no contact, you grieve, you're over them after a while, because limerence is temporary. If you stop to, hi Manuel, if you stop to feed it, you will get out of the limerence and the jealousy will be gone. But it's very difficult to manage your emotions while you are still in a limerent episode. And of course, you can try to stop yourself from overthinking and analyzing, who are they with, what are they doing, I'm going to check on them. If you go in this maze, try to catch yourself and snap yourself out of it with a mantra, like, I'm not going to think about this right now. That's a really good mantra. Like, I have the mantra, I tell people to use the mantra, this person is not good for me. Also, if you go in the maze, if you go in the puzzle, if you start to analyze, think, can I be with them or not? What did they say yesterday? But maybe there's a way around it. Maybe I can go be with them. Maybe I should contact them. Hey, but I'm not in contact anymore. But who are they with? If you go in this maze, catch yourself if you can and say, okay, I'm not going to think about this anymore. That's a way to manage the OCD kind of thinking. But you cannot really resolve your emotions. and calm your nerve system and regulate your emotions while you are in a limerent episode. That's saying, I am staying in this addiction, but I'm trying to, not have any negative consequences of the addiction. Yeah, we try that, but that's not how it works, unfortunately. I have some questions. Tips to get over being jealous. I just answered that. How to get over LO and the feelings were reciprocated, but the circumstances were too complicated to be together at that moment. Yes, that happens quite often, by the way. You both want to be together. Okay. My assistant is saying something. Did I read the question wrong? Okay, so the questions are above there. Okay, I don't see them. Never mind. Can you read this for me, Toby? How to get over a low when your feelings are when there's reciprocity, I guess.
How to get over a low when the feelings were reciprocated, but the circumstances were too complicated to be together at the moment.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you are limerent for somebody who is completely unavailable, or you are limerent for somebody who is emotionally available, but the circumstances were not optimal. That doesn't really matter. Either you can change the circumstances so you can be together in a happy, healthy, secure relationship, whatever that means for you. There is something like emotional resonance. That means that there's an amount of contact, there's an amount of reassurance, there's an amount of reciprocity that we feel safe in. And for some people, we feel okay when we see our partner once per week. For some people, we want to see them every day. That's very personal. But if you can have all the reciprocity in the world, but if somebody cannot be with you and therefore not meet your needs, you will stay limerent. So that's not really a difference between, you have to go no contact. Either you take away the obstacles and you can form a happy, healthy, secure relationship where you feel safe, your nervous system is able to relax and calm down, or you go no contact. I wish it was different, but you don't really have two other choices. So no, there's not a difference if there's reciprocity or not, because limerence feeds off obstacles. If you cannot be together, if your nervous system cannot calm down because of the emotional resonance, your needs are not being met, even though they might be crazy in love with you. Celebrity LOs, I just answered that questions. Questions in caps, yes. How can I stop to romanticizing the memories? Hi, Nella. And repeating them over and over again. Good questions. I tell myself it was the happiest time of my life and I feel we'll never experience that again. That's such a good question, because that's what we do. We take one moment with LO. That could be a talk, that could be a glance, that could be, even something that happened online, or maybe a nice, a nice dinner. And we use that as the moment that we want to try to find again. What you do, if you're romanticizing the memories and repeating them over and over again, is have a cold, hard reality check with yourself that you are being biased. Having one fantastic moment, or even more fantastic moments with your LO, doesn't mean that this will be like this forever. I mean, if you would form a relationship, annoyances would come in the way. You have to go to the grocery store. You will have to pick up their dirty socks. It is a bias to think that we will always be completely infatuated. It's just not true. If you catch yourself what I tell my clients is you cannot stop the looping, right? I mean, you've all tried that, I guess. Well, God knows I did. You cannot stop the looping because the looping is subconsciously, it goes on and on and on and on until your brain rewires and the looping stop after a while. What you can do, though, is not actively fantasize, because that's behavior. That's something you choose. And what I mean by that is withdraw from life. For example, go lay in your bed and then just, fantasize and decide to stay in bed for a few hours just to think about them, to think how it was, and replay this. That's behavior. We don't do that. We don't choose behavior that feeds the limerence, even though we want to, but that's something we can choose. Now, the running, looping train in the back or film in the back of our heads that goes, where's hello, where's hello, what's hello doing? Oh, hello was here. Remember hello? Fine, leave that tape running because there's no off switch. But don't actively choose to withdraw from life and go into the fantasize. And also use my mantra, this person is just not good for me. We could have had the most romantic moments of the world in my life. This person is not good for me because I'm limerent for this person. That means that this person is not good for me. Okay. What advice would you give a spouse? I already asked that question. Please put the questions in. You're welcome, Nella. Please put the questions in caps so I can answer them. Somebody asked me what's the difference between a trauma bond and limerence. And of course, there are similarities, there's overlap. But not all limerents have trauma, and mostly a trauma bond has to do bonding over abuse and the cycle of abuse and what abuse does to our hormones. We have the punishment, we have the reward after the abuse, which you call the honeymoon phase, where everything is perfect and a lot of sorries and a lot of expression of better behavior. Not all LOs are abusive. We can also become limerent for a therapist or for our dentist or for a teacher. So that's different. Not all LOs are abusive. Some limerents have trauma, some limerents don't. That's just how it is. What else can I talk about? How people choose their LO. Is it really because they're better? No, of course not. No, LOs aren't half gods. They're just people. It's just really difficult to think of them as people. I remember that I was so surprised that not everybody was completely infatuated, and saw what I saw when people, they really, really didn't. Of course, your LO has something that you find attractive. Just like being in love with somebody, you find something that you find really attractive. So they are a little bit special to us, but it doesn't mean that they are half gods or they have this special treats and everybody likes them. They're just normal people like you and me. No, they're not better. They're absolutely not better. I don't have access to therapy or much else, really. Good question. Is it possible to get through this alone? Absolutely. Yes, you can do this on your own. And going through the withdrawal alone is not easy. But most limerent people do this alone because no one understands them anyway. There are not a lot of therapists who can really understand. Well, let me phrase that differently. Not a lot of therapists know about limerence. There's no Betty Ford where you can check in and everybody has a lot of knowledge. limerence and how to go through the withdrawal. So yes, most limerents do this alone. The most important thing is that you go through the withdrawal, go no contact, go through the grief, and slowly experience that there is a life after limerence, and that you will return to your calm self again. And I will do a video very shortly on the pain. What about looking at pigs? Looking at physis, that contact. I don't know what this word is, Jim. I thought you meant pigs. You should not look at pigs, by the way, of your LO. But I don't. Pisces? What about looking at Pisces, that contact? Pigs is. What about looking at pigs? Is that contact? Oh, good questions. Does it feed the limerence? You answer me. Do you think that looking at pictures feeds the limerence? Of course, the answer is yes. Of course, the answer is yes. Everything that gives you soothing, that gives you, a little bit, and even Joe, a little bit of soothing or contact or feeding, plays with our nerve system, and therefore plays with, thank you, Kelly, plays with our hormones. And every time we press on our dopamine scale, the dopamine is a scale in our brain. So if we press a little bit on the dopamine side, the pleasure side comes up. That's how it works. So looking at a picture is bing, the pleasure side comes up a little bit. The problem with dopamine is it's the scale. If we press here a little bit, the pleasure side comes up. That means that it has to come back in balance. That means that the downside also has to come up after a while. This is the downside. I don't know if this makes sense. I have a video on that. What I mean is, if you press a little bit on the dopamine side, looking at pictures, looking at their voice, you feel good for a short while. We feel good in that moment, maybe for a few minutes, maybe for an hour, I don't know. Our system calms down because of the dopamine. But as dopamine is a scale, you press on the reward and the punishment side always comes up a little bit. So yes, looking at pictures feeds the limerence and will only make your grief process longer. My LO is my therapist, but she is caused it because she takes private things about herself. I had 5 horrible years after she canceled therapy. Wow. I'm so sorry. Wrong planet. This happens a lot. Did she cancel therapy because of the limerence? Of course, having transference feelings towards a therapist is very normal. But limerence can, I call limerence being in love multiplied by 1,000. So everything, the rush is bigger, but also the pain is bigger. What if I never met someone who was so compatible with? That makes it hard to get over them. Why, if they're so compatible, why aren't you with them? It sounds a little bit like a bias because you don't know the future. You don't know the future. There's not one person, just one little person in the world who is the only one compatible, but they happen not to be available. It's more like the other way around. And of course, this person could be compatible with you, but they're not available anyway. But being unavailable, frustration, attraction grows the feeling that this is, a special person. So you can turn that around. Not being able with this person makes me think that we're completely compatible. But the fact still is, you're not with this person. And we should all be with somebody who is and compatible and available. That's a way to form a happy, healthy, secure relationship. And of course, it can be done. There are, I don't know how many billion people are out there. It's really not just one person. That's your limerence telling you that this is the only person. This is your specific person. Of course not. I mean, we've been in love before. We thought before that this is the one. And after you were like, oh yeah, probably not. That's not how humans work. We grieve And then after a while, in most cases, we find another person and hopefully somebody who is more available. Hi, my LO told me she doesn't want to see me because she's afraid she will get too attached to me. Oh God. And then she doesn't want to that because of the distance. She is right, but is it hard to rationalize? Any tips? That's difficult because she's not giving you a clear no. She's not saying, I don't want this. She's saying, I don't want this. But the reason is, because I get too attached. And of course, you get your hopes up. I understand that. It would be best if she would say, okay, I don't want this because of the distance. But clearly, I don't want this. I don't want to pursue this or maintain this. You need clarity when you are vulnerable for limerence. There's nothing worse than a vague situation like half reciprocity or I want to be with you but I cannot. I mean that's death for a limerence because it feeds on hope. And the last thing we need, by the way, is hope. Hope is toxic in a limerence episode. The main thing is you can't be together. Then you have all the answers. Then you have to go no contact. You don't have to do anything. But the way to get out of this is to, give up this person you cannot be with, grieve, and then after a while you're open to have feelings for a new person who is more available. I was very open and told her about my feelings. We're talking about the therapist. She tried for 4 months to work with it, but she couldn't. So she canceled all of a sudden, and I was devastated. I'm so sorry. And of course, therapists are people too. The canceling all of a sudden, that must mean that this was very stressful for her. I understand that this also played with your with your attachment, and this was really, really painful. But I have to stick up a little bit for the therapist. She tried. It's very, very difficult to be in a low and have to talk to body and on one hand be there, be their support, and on the other hand have to keep your boundaries, and respect your boundaries also. I mean, she had to walk on eggshells not to feed your limerence and not to make you too attached to her. So this is very common that a therapist just thinks, I cannot deal with this anymore. I don't know how to help this person. I'm their source of stress, basically. I'm not their source of happiness and their source of stress, and their therapist. So that's very conflicting. What's the membership like? Do you mean my membership? Yes, I have a member community. You can all sign up on different levels where I shower you with extras, extra videos or articles, and I pop in regularly to ask you and interact with you. 8 billion. Are there 8 billion people out there? So let's all try to find somebody who is available, who's crazy about you, who lives in your same country, so your nerve system can calm down. And if you want, you can form a happy, healthy, secure relationship. Okay, I see that I'm talking for 43 minutes, so I think I'm going to wrap this up. And I really hope that you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching me. And what do you think about her being the one? Thank you for your comments. I think you're talking to each other and not talking to me. Are you still talking to me? What do you think about her being the one? There's not just one. There's not just one. I mean, you can have somebody you really like, but your feelings are not proof that you are a good fit. That's something I want to give you in the last minutes of my live feed. Your feelings are not proof that you are a good fit, and you should see the difference between how you feel about a person and if you can be with them and how they make you feel. Love should not hurt people. Love should not hurt. I trained my brain into addiction, which was designed to get me addicted anyway. I'm so ashamed to talk about but I feel it's a safe place. In an adult stream, you definitely trained your brain into addiction. That's how it works, and I'm so sorry for you. But addiction can be reversed. Yeah, the shame. Oh yeah, but we act completely differently and irrationally when we are upset and our nerve system thinks that we're going to die. So please approach yourself with a lot of self-compassion. You did not choose this. No one woke up thinking, oh, I'm going to be. We didn't even know what limerence was, right? When we first entered this horrible episode. I mean, what did we know? We had good intentions because wanting to pair bond, wanting to love, and wanting to be loved is a completely normal need for a human being. Thank you, Nella. I'm going to wrap this up. I want to do this every week. Let's say every Tuesday evening I'm here. I will make a post of it. Please join my community if you want. And I want to thank you for watching. And I'm super, super grateful that you watch me and that you're supporting me. So have a safe one all. Bye.